The crystal chandelier in the living room cast a cold light into the dead of night. The grandfather clock ticked away, each second measuring out the last moments of Ethan's fractured marriage. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. He stood outside the master bedroom, a bottle of fever reducer in his hand, his fingertips trembling. From behind the door, he could hear Sophia's muffled coughs. Taking a deep breath, Ethan pushed the door open. Moonlight filtered through the sheer curtains, landing on the bed where Sophia was curled up in a tight ball. On her nightstand sat an aromatherapy diffuser, a gift from Leo. The familiar scent was a knife twisting in Ethan's gut. "Sophia, you should take something for the fever," Ethan said, holding out a glass of warm water. His voice was laced with desperate hope. She turned her head away. "I don't need it. After 10 years of marriage. Do you really hate me this much?" Ethan's voice trembled, his eyes turning red. "You won't even call me your husband." "Don't kid yourself, Ethan." Sophia threw back the covers and sat up, her eyes filled with a chilling distance. This was never a marriage. It was a business deal, a merger of family empires. "Did you really think I would ever fall in love with you?" The words hit Ethan like a sledgehammer. He stumbled back, knocking over a vase on the nightstand. The sound of shattering porcelain was the sound of his marriage breaking into a million pieces. Months later, on a night of torrential rain, a shrill ringtone cut through the silence. A video appeared on his phone, sent by the kidnappers. In a derelict factory, Sophia and Leo were chained to a concrete pillar. Sophia had a gash on her cheek, but her eyes were still defiant. Leo was struggling violently against his restraints. A cold dread washed over Ethan. He gripped his phone, hearing his own voice, hoarse and unfamiliar. "Let Sophia go. I'll take her place. She's the only one who can get you the money you want." "You sure about that, mister?" "Read." The kidnapper's laugh was pure malice. Days later, in that same abandoned factory, the smell of mildew and rust filled the air. Ethan hung from the wall by chains, blood seeping from his wounds. Every breath was a fresh agony. Then Sophia's face appeared before him. Leo stood behind her, looking anxious. "Ethan, the ransom is only enough for one of us," she said, clutching her phone, her gaze shifting away from his. "Lo, he saw I'm the one who's supposed to die." Ethan laughed, a bitter metallic taste rising in his throat. "Was the love I gave you for 10 years just nothing? Everything I did for you, what did it mean to you?" Sophia turned her face away. Her voice was low. "We should never have been together. My family forced me to marry you. I never had any feelings for you." "Fine." Ethan closed his eyes, tears mixing with the blood trickling down his face. "Tell my father not to make things difficult for the Millers. Just consider the last 10 years my debt to you." The exchange went wrong. A gunshot echoed like thunder. Without a second thought, Ethan threw himself in front of Sophia. The bullet tore through his chest. He collapsed into her arms, his blood staining her white dress crimson. "Sophia?" His breath was a faint whisper. He used the last of his strength. "In the next life, let's not meet again. Just let me forget you." Before the darkness consumed him, Ethan thought he heard the distant mournful toll of a church bell, a funeral dirge for his love. When he opened his eyes again, morning light streamed through the ornate windows, falling across his face. His phone screen displayed the date. It was the exact day Sophia was scheduled to visit the Reed estate to choose her marriage partner. On his phone's wallpaper, a photo of Sophia from her college days smiled back at him, a smile that made his eyes sting. Back then, her eyes held so much light. Now there was only ice. Ethan unlocked his phone and pulled up Leo Vance's contact. His thumb hovered over the send button for a long time before he finally pressed it. "Sophia is coming to my family's estate today to pick a husband. Show up with red roses. Propose to her. I'm setting you two free." He tossed the phone onto the bed. A moment later, it buzzed. A text from Leo. "Mr. Reed, are you serious?" Ethan gripped the phone, his knuckles white. He typed back, "Bring a bouquet of red roses. They're her favorite. Tell her I wish you both the best." In the mirror's reflection, he slowly undid the perfectly knotted tie and tore open the collar of his dress shirt. This time, he would be the one to destroy this ridiculous one-sided love. He would no longer be the man who begged for scraps of affection. Just then, the sound of an engine purred outside as Sophia's limousine passed through the wrought iron gates of the estate, startling a flock of white doves from the trees. Inside the car, Sophia stared out the window, her expression complex, lost in thought. In a dressing room inside the Reed mansion, crystal lamps cast a soft glow. Ethan's father held up a custom-tailored suit, his brow furrowed. "Ethan, the Millers will be here any minute. What are you doing in a tracksuit? What kind of impression does that make? I know how much you adore Sophia. This alliance is the perfect opportunity." Ethan slouched on a sofa, fiddling with his phone. He didn't even look up. "Dad, call off. Don't be ridiculous." His father slammed his hand on the desk, making a fountain pen jump. "The Millers are our most crucial business partners. This merger solidifies the family's legacy. He used to dream of being with her. What's changed?" Ethan let out a cold laugh. 10 years ago, our family, for the sake of profit, conspired with others to force the Van Cess into bankruptcy, tearing Sophia and Leo apart. I was a fool then. Now I don't love her anymore, and I have no intention of becoming another casualty of this family's ambition. You're talking nonsense. His father's face flushed with anger, and he pointed a trembling finger at Ethan. "If we hadn't done that, the Reed Corporation wouldn't be where it is today. And I was an idiot back then," Ethan said, rising to his feet, his voice firm. "This time, I refuse to be a pawn in your game. Dad, just this once, please. Let me have my way." His father let out a heavy sigh, shaking his head in defeat. "You're a stubborn kid. Fine, have it your way." Ethan pulled on a baseball cap and blended in with the guests. In the grand ballroom beneath the shimmering chandeliers, Sophia stood in a white dress, looking ethereal. She offered polite nods to the swarm of young, wealthy heirs vying for her attention, but her eyes remained distant. Hiding in a corner, Ethan watched her, memories of his past life flashing through his mind. Her coldness, her final cutting words, each memory was another twist of a knife. His phone vibrated. A text from Leo, stuck in traffic. 10 minutes out. Just then, Sophia looked up, her gaze sweeping across the room until it landed on the corner where he was hiding, as if she could feel his presence. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He quickly turned and melted back into the crowd, terrified of being seen. A few moments later, the ballroom doors burst open. Leo Vance, clutching a massive bouquet of red roses, rushed in, breathing heavily. A wave of whispers rippled through the crowd. "Sophia!" Leo ran to her and dropped to one knee. "Marry me. I know I failed you before, but I can protect you now. Please give me a chance." Sophia's eyelashes fluttered, a flicker of emotion in her eyes. But she didn't reach for the roses. She simply stared at Leo, at the face that was once so familiar, but now felt like a stranger. The past flashed through her mind, finally settling on the image of Ethan shielding her from a bullet. Ethan watched them, a lump forming in his throat. He saw the faint hint of a smile on Sophia's lips, the same smile he had yearned for countless times. "She can finally be happy," he thought, a bitter laugh escaping him. He didn't watch for another second. He turned and walked toward the revolving door, the sound of his suitcase wheels echoing across the marble floor, crushing the last of his attachments. As the revolving door closed, sealing him off from the ballroom, the guests were still murmuring, speculating on how Sophia would respond. "Sophia, please say yes." Leo's hand, holding the roses, trembled slightly. His voice was a raw plea. "Let's start over, just like before." Sophia pulled her gaze away from the entrance and looked at Leo's familiar yet foreign face. Her voice was calm but resolute. "I'm sorry, Leo. I can't." The ballroom erupted. A tide of whispers crashed through the room. "What's going on?" "I thought she and Leo Vance had a history. Who knows? Maybe after getting a taste of the Reed family fortune. She's too good for the bankrupt Van Cess now." Leo stumbled back, rose petals scattering to the floor. His voice was laced with disbelief. "Why? We agreed. You said if I came and proposed, you would." "The past is the past," Sophia said, her fists clenched so tightly her nails dug into her palms. "I'm waiting for someone. Waiting for Ethan?" Leo suddenly sneered. He pulled out his phone, the cold light of the screen illuminating his twisted expression. You think he actually loves you? Look at this. The text chain opened up in front of Sophia's eyes. The words felt like ice in her veins. Bring a bouquet of red roses. They're her favorite. Tell her I wish you both the best. The sender was Ethan Reed. The timestamp was from that morning. No, that's impossible. Sophia's fingertips traced the screen, her voice shaking. She fumbled for her own phone. He wouldn't. How could he? She shakily dialed Ethan's number. Just as she was about to hit call, Leo grabbed her wrist. Don't waste your time. He slapped her phone from her hand, sending it skittering across the marble floor. From the fallen phone, a cold automated voice confirmed it. The number you are calling is unavailable. Sophia staggered backward, knocking over a chair with a screech. Wake up. He grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. He's the one who told me to propose. He set this all up to get rid of you. You think he ever loved you? You were just a piece on a chessboard. And now that the game is over, he's thrown you away. Sophia collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face, blurring the last text message from Ethan on her phone screen. She remembered him shielding her from the bullet, remembered the countless times his eyes had been filled with warmth. Those images warred with the cruel words on the screen, a splitting headache building behind her eyes. The guests circled around her, their murmurs and pointing fingers like daggers. So, the Ice Princess gets played after all. I thought she was so untouchable. Turns out she's just another fool dumped by a man. Sophia curled into a ball on the floor and let out a heart-wrenching sob. No. Ethan dragged his suitcase down the street. The sun was blinding. He put on his sunglasses and hailed a cab. The airport, please. He tossed his luggage in the trunk. Hey, you hear the news, kid? The driver asked, pulling into traffic. The Miller Aries and the Reed Air just got engaged. It's all over the city. Ethan's fingers tightened. He let out a cold laugh. Is that so? Good for them. As the taxi passed through the city center, a massive billboard in Times Square lit up with Sophia's face. Her eyes were red and swollen, her voice cracking as she spoke. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I can't be happy without you. If you just come back, we can get married today. Pedestrians on the sidewalk stopped and stared, their voices a low hum of confusion. What's with Sophia Miller? Didn't she just get engaged? I heard she got dumped. Now she's begging to come back. Ethan stared at the screen, his heart pounding like a drum. The memories of his past life, her indifference, clashed violently with the desperate confession playing out before him. Driver, pull over, Ethan said, his voice tense. He stood on the sidewalk, watching Sophia's repeated plea, his nails digging into his palms. It's just for the sake of her family's interests, he told himself with a cynical shake of his head. He turned to walk away. Ethan, how can you be so cruel? The Sophia on the screen seemed to shout directly at him. All these years, I didn't know how to cherish what I had. Now, I just wanted to know the one I love has always been you. Ethan froze for a second, then forced himself to walk faster. He hailed another cab, and just before he got in, he took one last look at the screen. The image of Sophia, her face stained with tears, was a thorn in his heart. To the airport, he said, closing his eyes, willing himself not to think. As the taxi pulled away, the woman on the screen continued to cry. She looked straight into the camera and whispered, Ethan, I'll wait for you. I'll wait until you're ready to believe me. Inside the cab, Ethan's fists were clenched. The old wounds were too deep. He didn't dare to believe, and he refused to make the same mistake again. The Miami sun was so bright, it was hard to keep your eyes open. Ethan dragged his suitcase out of the airport, hailed a cab, and headed straight for the hotel he'd booked. You could just drop me at the next corner, Ethan said, looking out at the unfamiliar streets. The taxi slowed to a stop near the hotel. Just as Ethan paid the fare, a commotion erupted behind him. Hey, look, isn't that the guy from the reward post? Quick, take a picture. Send it to Ms. Miller's assistant. We're going to be rich. Ethan's heart seized. Pedestrians were pulling out their phones. Shopkeepers were leaning out of their storefronts to get a better look. He tightened his grip on his suitcase handle and started walking quickly, trying to disappear into the crowd. He went left. He turned down that alley. The shouts followed him like a tracking device, broadcasting his every move. A chill ran down his spine. The cold, distant Sophia of his past life was a stark contrast to this relentless pursuer. After several blocks of doubling back and losing his followers, Ethan found himself back at the hotel entrance. The glass doors slid open automatically. The receptionist smiled. "Good afternoon, sir. Are you Mr. Reed checking in?" "Yes. I need to get to my room as quickly as possible." Ethan slapped his ID on the counter, catching a glimpse of a few people peering through the doors. As the elevator ascended, his hand holding the key card was slick with sweat. The lock to room 708 beeped softly. He had just thrown his suitcase onto the carpet when he heard voices whispering in the hallway. Was that really him? Definitely. I got a shot of his back and sent it to her. Ethan ripped open the curtains. Across the street, the glass facade of another building reflected his own tense face. As the afternoon sun bled into a warm orange, a knock on the door startled Ethan awake. He jumped up and looked through the peephole. Sophia stood there, her long hair draped over the shoulders of a black coat. "Ethan, I know you're in there," she said, her voice muffled by the door. Ethan pressed his body against the doorframe, his own voice tight. "What the hell do you want, Sophia?" "I just want to talk." Her voice trembled. "Do you remember that hurricane last year? I was trapped at the office. Everyone else had gone home. But you came all the way through that storm with hot soup. You were soaked to the bone, but you just smiled and said, 'Drink it while it's hot.'" Ethan's fingers dug into his palms. "And on my birthday," Sophia continued, sniffling, "you waited outside my apartment all night. When I opened the window in the morning, I saw your face red from the cold and that bouquet in your arms, all wilted from rain." "That's enough." Ethan cut her off, his voice louder than he intended. "What's the point of bringing all that up now? I used to ignore everything you did for me, and I regret it so much now. I've turned down every marriage proposal. I told Leo it's over. I only want you, and you expect me to believe you." Ethan scoffed. "I know you hate me. I know you resent me," she said, her voice softening into a plea. "But can you please give me a chance to make up to you? Let me give you back all the kindness you showed me, all the kindness I threw away." He heard a rustling sound from the other side of the door, like paper. "I wrote you a letter of apology," she said. "Every single word is from my heart." Ethan was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "Sophia, some wounds can't be fixed with an apology." "I know," she choked out, "but I don't want to give up. Even if you keep me locked out, I'll wait right here. I'll wait until you're willing to look at me again." Silence fell in the hallway, broken only by Sophia's stifled sobs, each one a hammer blow against Ethan's heart. The fluorescent lights of the hotel corridor cast shifting shadows on Sophia's face as she stood unmoving in front of room 708. The door was suddenly flung open. Ethan stood there, his face a cold mask, the wheels of his suitcase clattering against the floor. "Sophia, how long are you going to keep this up?" "Until you're willing to hear me out," she replied. She clutched the hem of her coat, but her gaze was unwavering. "You once promised you would always protect me. Now you don't even have the patience to listen to me." "Protect you?" Ethan sneered, each word dripping with ice. "What about when you told me to stop bothering you? That the sight of me was disgusting? Have you forgotten that?" Sophia's face went pale, her nails digging into her palms. "I admit I said a lot of hurtful things, but now stop using the past as an excuse." Ethan interrupted, pulling his suitcase toward the elevator. "I'm heading to Miami. You should just give up." Sophia lunged forward, grabbing the handle of his suitcase. "Ethan, take me with you, please. I can help." "Help with what?" Ethan yanked the handle back. "You couldn't get away from me fast enough before. Now you want to follow me around." "I know you hate me," she said, her voice trembling and her eyes turning red. "But the business world in Miami is complicated. I have connections. I have experience. Just think of it as a chance for me to atone for what I did." Ethan paused but didn't turn around. "I don't need it. Please, Sophia begged, her voice thick with tears. Do you remember? Last year, you were up all night working on a business proposal, and I spilled coffee all over it. This time, let me be the one to make you coffee to help you with research. Please. The hallway was silent, except for Sophia's quiet, ragged breaths. After a long moment, Ethan's cold voice cut through the air. You can come, but don't expect me to go soft on you. I won't. Sophia looked up instantly, a spark of hope in her eyes. As long as I can be near you, I'll do anything. Ethan's knuckles were white as he gripped the suitcase handle. Be ready at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Don't be late. And if you slow me down, I won't, she promised hurriedly. I'll do exactly as you say. I won't cause any trouble. As she watched Ethan's back disappear into the elevator, Sophia leaned against the wall and slowly slid to the floor. The strength she'd been feigning evaporated, and tears streamed down her face, but a small smile played on her lips. At least she was one step closer. The plane touched down in Miami during a torrential downpour. Sophia clutched a folder of documents and hurried after Ethan, her heels clicking on the wet pavement. Mr. Wallace from the Sterling Group arrived early. The meeting is on the 8th floor of the Peninsula Hotel. I don't need you to remind me, Ethan said, loosening his tie. The elevator's mirrored walls reflected their tense profiles. In his past life, it was at this very bid presentation that he had willingly given up the most valuable parcel of land to serve Sophia's family interests. Inside the conference room, Mr. Wallace paused as he pushed the contract across the table. Mr. Reed flying solo this time. That's not like you. My partner is right here. Sophia said suddenly, standing up and spreading a data analysis report on the table regarding the floor area ratio for the downtown redevelopment. We have a superior proposal. As her finger glided across the screen, she caught a glimpse of the pen clenched in Ethan's hand. It was the same model as the one he had used to write that proposal in their past life, the one she had carelessly thrown in the trash. It was late when the presentation ended. Sophia chased Ethan into the underground parking garage. Aren't you going to the celebration dinner, Mr. Wallace? Stop making decisions for me, Ethan said, pulling open the car door. The salty ocean air flooded the vehicle. Starting tomorrow, don't follow your itinerary. You wrote that you wanted to. Go to that bakery in Little Havana for their guava pastel. Watch the sunset from the boardwalk in the art district. Enough. Ethan slammed the engine off. The blue light of the dashboard illuminated the fury in his eyes. Sophia, how many times are you going to rip open my scars? Silence filled the small space. Sophia pulled a wrinkled travel brochure from her bag. Tucked inside was an old airline ticket stub. This was for your 28th birthday. You secretly booked 2 tickets. That day, I tore them up. I told you that you didn't deserve to celebrate with me. Ethan's throat tightened. And you're bringing this up now just to torment me? I know you love the pastelos from that old bakery, and you have to reserve them in advance. I already placed an order for tomorrow. She pushed the brochure into his hands, then turned and ran out into the rain. Whether you go or not is up to you. The next day at dusk, Ethan found himself staring at Sophia's blocked contact on his phone before, against his better judgment, walking to the old street in Little Havana. The bakery's glass window was fogged over. A small handwritten note was still taped to the counter. Reserved for when my Sophia can join me. The corners of the paper were frayed with age. You here for the pastel? The owner asked, wiping down a spoon. The young lady who ordered them yesterday left specific instructions. She said if you came, where is she? Ethan's knuckles were white as he clutched the brochure. She left about an hour ago. Just finished your share and took off, the owner said, pushing a warm box across the counter. She left something for you, though. Inside a small velvet box was a simple woven red cord bracelet. A card with hurried handwriting lay beside it. I used to think the things you gave me were cheap. Now I realize I threw away the most precious thing I ever had. Ethan ran his thumb over the cord, suddenly remembering the identical bracelet he had shoved into her hand for good luck just before she was kidnapped in his past life. The wind on the boardwalk was heavy with the smell of salt and sea. Sophia stared at the crashing waves, then heard rushed footsteps behind her. Why did you cancel the rest of the order? Ethan demanded, holding up the box, his breathing unsteady. I don't want to force you any more, Sophia said, turning to face him, her eyes red. You said it yesterday. Being with me feels suffocating. Ethan's throat felt tight. The image of her past icy expression merged with the tears shimmering in her eyes now. He tore the knot on the bracelet and began throwing the small red beads one by one into the ocean. Sophia, don't think a few trinkets can erase. I know, she said, and then she smiled, a tear dropping onto her jacket. So, this is the last time. From now on, your life is your own. I won't. Shut up. Ethan lunged forward and grabbed her wrist, remnants of the red cord still clinging to his fingertips. Who gave you permission to make that decision for me? The tide washed over their shoes, swallowing their unspoken words. As the beam from a distant lighthouse swept over them, Sophia saw that the tips of Ethan's ears were red, just like the boy who had waited all night below her window all those years ago. As dusk settled over New York City, Ethan, dressed in a sharp suit, headed for a banquet near the Miller Group's headquarters. The evening breeze was damp, blurring the neon lights of the storefronts. He looked down to avoid a puddle in an alley and froze when he heard a familiar voice from around the corner. Sophia, he pushes you away time and time again. The man's sighing plea made Ethan's feet root to the spot. It was Leo. Then he heard the rustle of fabric. Come with me. I can give you a stable life. Ethan clenched the car keys in his pocket, his throat dry. Peeking through a gap between stacked cardboard boxes, he saw the wind lift Sophia's long hair, the ends brushing against Leo's fingertips. He doesn't want you, Sophia. I do. Leo's voice was gentle. Careful. Sophia stood with her back to Ethan, her silhouette looking fragile. He held his breath as he watched her slowly shake her head. I'm sorry, Leo. It's Ethan now. It's always been Ethan. The word struck Ethan's heart like a physical blow. He took a step back, his leather shoe grinding against loose gravel. He turned quickly, knocking over a plastic bin at the edge of the alley. As it clattered across the pavement, he heard hurried footsteps behind him, but didn't dare to look back. He was still in his car, heart pounding against his ribs when he finally drove away. A few days later, Ethan was packing a suitcase, preparing to leave town for good. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, he saw Sophia holding a small cake, her hair a mess and her eyes red-rimmed. Ethan, it's my birthday, she said, her voice trembling. I know you hate me, but I just want to ask you this one last time. Please just celebrate with me. As soon as it's midnight, I promise I'll disappear from your life for good. There's nothing between us anymore, Ethan said coldly, but he could hear her stifled sobs through the door. You always said I was prettiest when I smiled. Sophia choked out, but I never gave you a single genuine smile. You made me breakfast. You cleaned up my family's messes. You even cared for me. Her voice broke. I just want to make it up to you. Just this once, please. Ethan's hand on the doorknob trembled. In his past life, she had been an ice queen. Seeing her like this, so humbled, made his chest tighten. In the hallway, Sophia's voice grew more desperate. You once said you'd catch the stars and the moon for me if I just asked. I'm not asking for the stars now. I'm just asking you to help me blow out one candle. Ethan's palm was sweating against the door. The memories of his past life surged, the cold, dismissive woman she had been and the broken, pleading one she was now. He took a deep breath, and just as he was about to speak, he heard her rush to add, I swear after tonight, I will never bother you again. After a long, heavy silence, Ethan slowly opened the door. Sophia looked up, tear tracks still on her cheeks, but she forced a smile. Thank you. The candlelight flickered on the cake as Sophia sang a soft happy birthday. Ethan stared at the dancing flame, thinking of all the lonely nights he'd spent in their past life, completely ignored by her. Make a wish, he said, the words escaping him before he could stop them. My wish. Sophia looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and fear. Suddenly, she stood on her toes, and before Ethan could react, she pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. She rested her head on his shoulder, blushing. I didn't know how to appreciate you before. I remember everything you did for me. I finally understand now. The person I loved most was right beside me all along." She looked up at him, her gaze soft but steady. "I'm not asking you to forgive me or accept me right away, but can you please give me another chance?" Ethan looked into her sincere eyes, the memories of his pain warring with the reality of her change. The cautious hope in her gaze was so much like his own once upon a time. As his thoughts swirled, he noticed how pale she was, her normally rosy lips completely drained of color. "What's wrong?" His voice was sharp with concern that surprised him. His hand shot out to steady her as she swayed, the feeling of her so fragile in his grasp. Sophia leaned against his shoulder, her breathing shallow. "Don't worry. I've just been exhausted lately." "No, we're at the hospital." Ethan felt a hand squeeze his heart. He practically ran, carrying her to the car. All the way there, his eyes were glued to her closed eyelids, terrified she would disappear. In the emergency room hallway, he paced back and forth, digging his nails into his palms so hard he didn't feel the pain. Memories flickered through his mind. The darkness of the factory, her cold words. But none of it mattered more than the fear gripping him now. "Your wife is just suffering from exhaustion. She needs to rest." The doctor's words finally allowed the tension in Ethan's shoulders to ease. "She's not my..." Ethan started to correct him, but then he saw Sophia on the hospital bed, anxiously clutching the corner of a sheet. He changed his sentence mid-thought. "Are you sure she doesn't need to be admitted for observation?" He stood by her bed, looking at her small, curled-up form. He realized she was much thinner than he remembered. A wave of protectiveness, sharp and painful, washed over him. When they left the hospital, the sun was warm on the street. Sophia took his hand, her voice a little shy. "From now on, can I be the one to chase you? I want to make up for all our lost time." Ethan looked down at their intertwined fingers. The hand that had pushed him away countless times now held his with warmth and hope. He gave her fingers a gentle squeeze, a smile touching his lips without his permission. "We'll see how you do. You promise." Sophia's eyes lit up. "Tomorrow, I'm taking you to that place on the old street with the amazing candied apples. Then we can go boating in the park and watch an outdoor movie. We'll do everything you've ever wanted to do." In that much of a hurry, Ethan raised an eyebrow, his voice laced with affection. He watched her practically buzz with excitement and felt the old wounds finally begin to heal, soothed by her radiant smile. "Of course," she said, tilting her head. "I don't want to waste another second." A light breeze swept by, catching a strand of Sophia's hair. Ethan reached out and tucked it behind her ear, his fingertips grazing her cheek, feeling her warmth. The pain of the past and the hope of the present merged in that single touch. He finally understood. He had never stopped loving her. And this time he was ready to lower all his defenses and hold on tight to the happiness he'd almost lost forever.